Hello, good morning, or good evening. Whenever you are watching this, I hope you are doing well. My name is Catherine, and today I'm doing my August reading wrap-up. In the month of August, I managed to read 24 books. I honestly don't know how I did that, but it was a lot, and I don't expect to ever do that again anytime soon, at least. Out of those books, 11 of them were audiobooks, 4 of them were ebooks, and 9 of them were physical books. I participated in 2 readathons. I did also complete every single one of the books that I put on my TBR in my TBR video. So that we are not here all day, let's just dive right in. So first of all, I read the first 3 books in the Maximum Ride series. So I read The Angel Experiment, School's Out Forever, and Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports. Maximum Ride is about a group of kids who are on the run as they are government experiments. They have been basically breeded in a lab to become these half-human, half-avian hybrids. There are a lot of near misses where they almost get caught, and there is also a mysterious being telling Max that she is destined to save the world. Overall, I really enjoyed these first 3 books. The first book I gave 4 stars, and the second and third I gave 3 stars. They were very, very short, like middle grade book. It's very fast paced. There isn't like a lot of character growth within each book, but they are very short. And I do think that the concept of these like kids on the run trying to figure out how to take care of themselves, because I think Max is like 14 and she's the oldest of the group, so it's a lot, but I really enjoyed reading them. The next book that I read was All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a memoir of George M. Johnson's life from when he is young through his like college years, and it's about him coming to terms with both him being gay and him being black, as well as not fitting the like stereotypical mold of what it is to be a man. Editing Catherine here. That was really weirdly worded, so I wanted to clarify. What I meant by that was he was coming to terms with the relationship between him being gay and his race and how that played into his life. Yeah, that was a really weird way to word it, and I just needed to clarify. I really, really enjoyed this. I don't really feel like I should give a star rating to a memoir because it's someone's life, and who am I to judge someone's like actual life and experiences. But I will say like the writing style and the general like flow of the book was 5 out of 5 stars. Next, I am going to be talking about the books I read for Nostalgiathon. This is a readathon that is all about reading like childhood favorites and just getting in touch with your inner child. So the first book that I read was The Little Prince. This was one of my absolute favorite books growing up, and I still just absolutely adore it now as an adult. In fact, I feel like there's some things in here that are meant to be read by adults. It tells the story of this aviator who ends up crash landing in the middle of the Sahara Desert. There he meets the little prince, who is from an asteroid almost no bigger than himself, asteroid B612. It's an absolutely incredible book that talks a lot about, as you grow up, how you tend to lose your imagination and how odd grown-ups are. I gave it 5 stars. I mean, how could I not? It's such a beautiful book. The next book I read for Nostalgiathon was the first book in the Magic Treehouse series, Dinosaurs Before Dark. This book is about 2 siblings, Jack and Annie, who discover this treehouse. They climb up there and there's all these books, and suddenly they are transported to dinosaur times. There are dinosaurs. So they discover this magic treehouse. The whole series is like that. This is probably the start of like my love of historical fiction. It's such a really cute short book. It's only like, I don't know, like 30 pages, something like that. If you have kids, read it to them, or have this be one of the books that they start reading with. If you don't have kids, go look at the ebook. It's really cute, and it definitely, like, it was very nostalgic for me hence Nostalgiathon. Next, I read Matilda by Roald Dahl. This book follows the young girl Matilda who at the age of like 4 or 5 is doing like double-digit multiplication tables. She is reading Charles Dickinson. She just is incredibly smart. She comes from a family who does not value her intelligence. They're very like self-centered and very just ignorant of the world. She ends up going to school and meeting Miss Honey, who sees Matilda as the like genius that she is, but of course the principal, the Trunchbull, doesn't believe her and just thinks that kids are nothing but troublemakers. It is such a good book. I hadn't ever actually read the book. I'd only ever seen the movie. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I just think it's so cute. The second readathon that I did was the Diversify Your Shelf readathon. This one was all about making sure that you are reading diversely, actively reading diversely. So the first book that I read for that was Incendiary by Zoraida Cordova. This is about Renata, who is a memory thief. She has the ability to basically go into someone's mind and take their memories, and it can be as simple as taking away a traumatic memory that makes it hard for them to sleep at night and gives them nightmares, or if used in the wrong hands, it can take away all of their memories, making them a shell of a person and ultimately killing them. Renata was taken as a young girl to work in the palace as the king's memory thief. She eventually escaped and joined a rebel group, but now when her like patrol's leader and the guy that she kind of has a thing for gets taken hostage, she has to infiltrate the palace once again, try and find a way to save other people with magic, because magic is outlawed, of course. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I love the magic system in this. I think the magic system is really cool. You have like the general healers and you have people who are able to create illusions, so like they can make you look like something else, and then of course you have the memory thieves. The political intrigue was so fascinating. I will say my like one complaint against it was I didn't really like the romance. First of all, a lot of the romance like starts before the book starts. And I really like seeing people fall in love, but towards the end there was like a lot going on, and I'm very interested to see how that goes into book 2, because there was a lot of like twists and turns. Some were like kind of predictable, and other ones it was like, oh, what? Next, I listened to The Sound of Stars by Alicia Dow. This book is in a sort of like near future sci-fi-esque setting. Basically, Earth has been invaded by like a race of aliens that are turning humans into their like slaves, and eventually are trying to wipe out the humans in order to use their bodies as like hosts. It very much reminds me of The Host by Stephanie Meyer in that sense. It follows Ellie Baker, who is running a secret library because of course the alien race has banned all books, music, literature, art, because that they have determined is what gives humans hope. And she is discovered by one of the like aliens named Morris. Morris is very different than the other Ilori, that's the race of alien. Morris has discovered human music and has just completely fallen in love with it. When he discovers Ellie's library, he decides that she is going to be the person who finds him more music. Of course, things happen, something gets discovered, and they end up having to go on the run on this like epic cross-country road trip in order to save the human race. I ended up giving this book a 3 stars, which was very like disappointing for me, because when I heard the synopsis of it, I was like, this book is gonna be incredible. Again, the concept really cool. I really enjoyed the concept of the book. However, I wasn't a big fan of the romance. Romance was just not a hit for me. It was one of those like all-consuming romances where I'm just like, don't you have some like world saving to do? The pacing was also just really weird as well. It started off really great. It got strange in the middle. The ending was good. I enjoyed the book. Could have had a better romance. Next, I read A Very Large Expansive Sea by Tahereh Mafi. This book follows Shirin, who is a Muslim girl who wears hijab. It takes place in 2002, so a year after 9/11. It is about her experience as a visibly Muslim girl who is constantly harassed and called a terrorist and physically attacked because of her religion and because of who she is. She has built up all sorts of walls to make sure that nobody gets close to her because she is scared of her herself getting hurt and also those close to her being harassed for just being associated with her. When her and her brother go to a new school, they end up founding a breakdancing club, which is so cool. She also ends up meeting the mysterious Ocean. He is a popular kid. He's white and she really feels like he should not be associating with her. But of course there's a little bit of a romance. I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Again, the romance just was slightly off for me. There were some parts that were fantastic. There were other parts where I'm like, God, I don't know. I laughed, I cried a lot. There were some parts that, yeah. Whew. I do want to put a content warning on here for the racism that Shirin faces because she is physically attacked at some points. So up next, I read Amal Unbound by Aisha Saeed. This is a middle grade book that follows Amal, who lives in a small Pakistani village. She has a bright future ahead of her. However, she ends up being taken in as an indentured servant by the village's landlord, and she sees her whole future taken away from her. While she's there, she learns some dark secrets. Again, there's a lot of political intrigue and a lot of she sees the disparity between this upper class and the people of her village and how they live. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was such an incredible book and very interesting. I don't think I've ever read a book that actually takes place in Pakistan. Amal's whole journey was both sad and also so encouraging. That girl, she needed a break. But overall, I really enjoyed the book. Next, I read Girls of Storm and Shadow by Natasha Ngan. This is the sequel to Girls of Paper and Fire. This takes place in a world where there are 3 different castes. There's the paper caste, which are humans. There's the steel caste, which are humans with aspects of animals on them. So they have cat ears, or they have feathery arms, things like that. And then there is the moon caste, which are fully fledged animal humanoids. The first book follows a girl named Lei who is taken to be a paper girl for the Moon King. The paper caste is the lowest caste. Humans are lesser than. She is taken to be a paper girl, which is basically a concubine for the king. Which weird because they're animals, but we're not gonna think too much about it. While she's there, she ends up falling for one of her fellow paper girls. The world building is absolutely incredible in this book, and the overall magic system, super fascinating. Love the political intrigue, the whole animals and humans thing. It's weird. I ended up giving this book 3 stars. I just got so frustrated with Lei and Ren. There's so much miscommunication, so much hiding things from people that you shouldn't be hiding things. And then also Lei just made a lot of rash decisions where it's this is not the time. This is not the time to do that. I found myself just getting so frustrated. I still really enjoy the story once you get past the animal thing. But I did enjoy the book, and I am gonna read the next one because I need to know what happens. I am gonna put a huge content warning for sexual assault and also the PTSD that comes after that. There are depictions of panic attacks and the nightmares and things that come after that, which is really interesting, especially in this one, because I feel a lot of the times you see the initial assault but you don't see the aftermath. So seeing that in this one, super interesting, but be warned because it is a lot. Lastly, for Diversify Your Shelf, I read Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This book follows Maya, who's the daughter of a tailor. When her father is asked to join a competition to become the next imperial tailor, Maya ends up going to take his place, though she ends up disguising herself as her last living brother in order to compete to become the next imperial tailor. It is filled with magic and, again, a lot of political intrigue, and this romance I actually enjoyed. I thought that the magic system in this story was so cool, and it's a good mesh between there's like the sort of gods religious magic system and also the like enchanter magic system. I ended up giving it 4 stars. The only reason not 5 stars was I just again found myself getting frustrated with Maya. I don't know. Again, a lot of the decisions she made, I was like, really? But overall, I really enjoyed the book. I'm currently reading the next one. It's a good time. The next book that I read was Fable by Adrienne Young. I was super lucky and got an ARC from NetGalley for this book, so thank you so much to NetGalley and Wednesday Books. I was so excited. Adrienne Young is one of my favorite authors. I love just the worlds that she builds. This book follows Fable, who is the daughter of a very prominent trader, a sea merchant, and she has grown up on the sea, but after a fatal accident takes her mother, her father ends up abandoning her on this island to make her own way. This book takes place 4 years later, where she is still on the island, but is able to enlist the help of West and the crew of the Marigold in order to take her to find her father and claim what is rightfully hers. It is a beautifully atmospheric book. The world that this takes place in is incredible and sucks you in. I adore Adrienne Young's writing. I love her characters. I am such a big character person, and the characters, both like Fable, West, Saint, her father, and all the other crew members of the Marigold are so multifaceted and so complex. They each have their own backstories that come to light in a very natural way. The world is incredible. It's so good. I ended up giving this book 5 out of 5 stars. All right, lastly, I read all the books in the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series, and well, let's try this again. Okay, I read all the books in the Percy Jackson series and all the books in the Heroes of Olympus books. This series, whatever. These are companion series, so first up is Percy Jackson and the Olympians. This is about a boy named Percy who discovers that he is a demigod, so half human, half god. After being attacked at his school, he ends up at Camp Half-Blood, which is a place specifically for demigods to train, to learn, and to be safe. However, Zeus's Master Bolt has gone missing, and they are blaming Percy because of who his father is. In the first book, he goes on a quest with the help of Annabeth, who has been a camper at Half-Blood since she was 7 years old, and Grover. Sweet, sweet Grover. I love him so much. Anyway, they go on a quest. It's epic, but there is a lot more going on, and it turns out there is someone out there trying to pit demigods against gods and split up the gods of Olympus. These books are so good. I read them last when I was in 8th grade, and I've been meaning to reread them for so long. And I'm so glad that I did. So each book takes place, it starts out when they're 12. By the end of the series, they are 15, 16 years old. You see how much Percy and Annabeth and all the other campers, how much they change and how much they grow as people and how their relationships develop. I gave every single book in here 5 out of 5 stars, no shame. I think they're all 5-star reads. Even me as a person well into my adulthood, these books are definitely more middle grade. As you get further into the series, they definitely mature and grow, which again, I absolutely love. The books are maturing and growing along with the characters. As you get into the Heroes of Olympus, this takes place almost immediately after the events of the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. I don't want to go into too much detail about what it is about, just because it is quite spoilery for Percy Jackson, but you are introduced to a lot more characters. In this one, you get Jason, Leo, and Piper. What I really enjoyed about the books is in Percy Jackson and Olympians, you start out when they're 12, and it takes place basically every summer, so there's a lot of months of things that happen in between. I really like this because it is more of a continuous storyline. They are older, so they're like 16, 15. I believe when you get to some of the other books, you have Hazel, who I absolutely love, and Frank. They're 14, I believe. The stakes of the quests are so much higher, and it's so good. One thing I will say, so I ended up giving the majority of these books, except for the last one, I gave the majority of them 4 stars, and the last one I did end up giving 5 stars because I just thought that the conclusion was so good. It is multiple perspectives, so each of the books you have multiple narrators, and that did get a little bit hard at times. I know why he did it. There's definitely times where I'm like, oh, I wish we could stick with just either 1 or 2 narrators. It's not too bad in the first and second book because each of them only have 3, but as you get into the other ones, you add like Annabeth and Nico and, oh, what's her name? Reyna? That does get a little like, oh my god, there's 9 perspectives in this story. They're beautifully diverse books. It's really cool because like Piper is Native American and she talks a lot about her like Native American heritage and things that people call her, which I feel like is not something covered a lot in young adult fiction. I fell in love with each and every one of these characters, which, as I have said before, I am a big character person. Every single one of them has such wonderful like backstories as well as development throughout the books. You see each of them mature in different ways. You see some of them cut a little more loose. You see some of them rein it in a little bit. There we go. So that concludes all the books I read in August. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you want to see more bookish content from me, be sure to hit subscribe and click that little bell icon so you're notified every single time I post. I post new videos every Monday and Thursday. Please let me know what your favorite book was that you read in the month of August. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and until next time, bye!